Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're doing a market update on Paldea Evolved, this veteran set from Scarlet and Violet. So sit back, relax, and welcome to PokeMarketLab. All right, welcome back to the channel. Let's get into it. Paldea Evolved. It's hard to believe this set is almost 2 years old. It's hard to believe that at the end of March, that will mark the 2-year anniversary of Scarlet and Violet. So it's hard to believe that we are 2 years into this era. So yeah, Paldea Evolved. This was released in June of 2023. This was the second set after Scarlet and Violet, based really the first full set in the Scarlet and Violet era. And if you were been around long enough and you were around during this time, it was not, we were kind of still in a bear market here as far as Scarlet and Violet was concerned. It took these boxes quite a good period of time. It took the set, and that's true of most sets, quite a bit of time to get up to speed, so to speak, in price compared to Sword and Shield. And that's really what was happening. Sword and Shield was just so popular at the time. All the money was pouring into Sword and Shield, and almost everything, pretty much Scarlet and Violet was ignored up until maybe Temporal Forces, Twilight Masquerade, and that's when the money started to shift over. So the smart folks out there that were saw Paldea Evolved under $100 for quite the period of time were gobbling it up. So let's get an update on this awesome set and see how it's doing. So on to the Pokemon Center ETB, sitting at $240 on TCG Player here. You know my sentiments on these Pokemon Center boxes. This one has a Pikachu in it. No Pikachu on the box, but we have a Pikachu card in it. We have the promo card. Remember, the stamp promo cards do phenomenally well, and this one is no exception. This promo card is sitting at $100. We're going to look at that in detail here on the next screen. But the Pokemon Center ETB, there's less than 30 of these on TCG Player. It's up 100% in the last few months, and there's really nothing that's going to stop this from continuing to go up. They're quite rare. This was before the market had caught on to these. My guess is, from what I could tell earlier on in the Scarlet and Violet era, these just were not heavily printed. I think the Pokemon companies, I think they've adjusted on these, in further sets. Let's put it this way, like Prismatic Evolutions or Surging Sparks, there just seems to be way more of those ETBs in the market. So people just hadn't caught on to the value in the Pokemon Center cards. The cards themselves, the stamp cards weren't, didn't have a ton of value to them, and people just didn't. People think, to be honest, I don't think they did the research on the fact that there was a promo in there. Remember, from Sword and Shield, there really weren't those Pokemon Center ETBs. There was nothing special about them other than having, I believe it was, one more additional pack. So there was really no reason to get them. There was no reason to open. There's certainly no reason to open them, especially considering they cost way more than a regular ETB. So this is a fantastic one. If you have these, just hold on to it. If you don't, you're going to have to pay a premium if you want one of these. And the same thing is actually going to hold true for these cards here, the Pokemon Center stamped version of this Pikachu, because it's doing extremely well at $100, $107 per card. And there's only 14 cards listed here. So, and you know what happens when you have an expensive box and an expensive card, right? So that card price, when it drives up, would typically cause more cracking of the box to drive more singles into market. But that box is so expensive that what you see is essentially what you're going to get for these in the market. You're not going. There's no glut of these cards that's ever going to be available. So if you have this, if you don't have one, if you have it, hold on to it. It's just this. It's about as sure bet as you can from someone telling you, hey, this is going to increase in value over time. It's Pikachu. It's essentially rare. I mean, in the last few months, there's only been 100 of these sold, and again, there's only 14 listed on TCG Player. So it's Pikachu with a Pokemon Center stamp, so it's going to do well. And on to the regular ETB. So the regular ETB is sitting at $67. So that's a little bit of a premium over that typical MSRP price of about $50. The regular Pikachu, this is the non-stamped version. I have a picture of the stamped here, but we're talking about the non-stamped version, is sitting at $7 per card. So it's still a great card. I have one of those cards. I like it. It's in my Pikachu page in my binder. I think it's a cute card. So regular ETBs on this set, the booster box, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes here, is performing quite well. So we're going to get to the point where, and it's going to become old enough where you have to start making a determination. Do you pick up a booster box? If it starts getting too expensive for you, do you pick up an ETB? What we're also going to talk about at the end of this video is reprint risk here for a set that's approaching 2 years old. And for an era that we're in a time period that we're in, we're waiting on a lot of reprints. We don't know what's going to happen. And we did already get a reprint on the booster boxes for Paldea. The reprint risk is going to start to dissolve here pretty rapidly, even for the ETBs. Remember, ETBs typically are done for a longer period of time than the booster boxes. I mean, we've still seen Sword and Shield, ETBs come in stock at online retailers not long ago, right? So they still trickle in. I don't know if those are parts of reprints or restocks or what, but the point being is we still see them at retail periodically when some of these sets are like 3 to 4 years old now at this point. So ETB, solid pickup at this price, I think. I cannot see this just sitting stagnant. I think it's a good solid set. It's a very solid set. It's not my favorite set in the Scarlet and Violet era, but I think it's performs really well. I'm just not and again, we'll talk about this, but I'm just the Magikarp doesn't blow me away, but there's lots of other stuff in the set that I really do like. That's a lot cheaper than the Magikarp, which I think is a good thing. I have not seen these come in stock at any retailers at that $50 price point, not frequently. So I think, again, if you have exposure to the set, great. If you don't, if you need to get exposure, I wouldn't be against paying $60 to $70. I think if you probably find a deal on this less than the $67 it's at, and make sure you have some exposure to that set. And that's a cheap way to get in there because it is perceived. It is the first set that had a chase in Scarlet and Violet. It is the first set that really did anything in Scarlet and Violet, even though it was holding everything else up in Scarlet and Violet essentially at that time. Not necessarily holding it up, it was the only thing doing anything at the time before, again, Twilight Masquerade came out and essentially challenged it with the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade. So nothing else had really pushed it, and I'm kind of ignoring 151 at that point. But let's go on to the booster box, of course, sitting at $200. It broke the $200 mark, 40% return in the last few months. You can see we've kind of leveled off here, which is, nothing wrong with that. The volume is still good here. Again, the reprint risk for the booster box for this, I think, my personal opinion, is fairly low. So, and I think the $200 price here, I think makes sense. I think compared to, we have Surging Sparks right now at $250. I think we have Twilight Masquerade is a bit less than $200. So I think this makes sense given the age of the product, given the, reprint risk, given Surging Sparks, I think is definitely a better set, but that's represented in the price. I don't think this is over or undervalued. I think this is right where it should be. So it's only a matter of time before this, continues to go up. So this is, I hate tracing, boxes. I have my collection of Paldea that I'm going to hold on to. Again, if you don't have exposure, you want booster boxes, it's kind of a now or never, but it's now or you're going to pay more in the future. So just make sure you have some exposure to the set. And let's just do some comparisons here. So I'd just like to throw a couple other boxes around that time period. So again, Paldea sitting at 200, Obsidian sitting at 188, Scarlet and Violet base 149. I think that's a little overpriced for that, comparatively to, especially to Paradox Rift here, which is sitting at 160. I think Paradox is a little bit undervalued at that point right there. And then another comparison we can look at here is total value of cards in set. So this is the market price of every single card in the set, just added up, just to kind of give you a full, volume of value essentially for each set. So Paldea sitting at $1,200, Obsidian sitting at a brutal $365, Scarlet and Violet base $615, and Paradox, definitely one of those competitors here, sitting at $1,028. So again, you can see Paldea is sitting at $200. But it's got almost a $200 lead on Paradox Rift, which is sitting at a $160 price point. So again, typically the market does a pretty good job at finding where that value is, and that's why I really like to use the total value of cards in the set to really show the true value of what's in that box and compare it to the booster box price in the market, right? And say, okay, is the market voting on this appropriately from a price standpoint? You can kind of use that to make a determination as to whether, that is a reasonable entry point for a product given its value. All right, let's look at that distribution graph here so we can see that Magikarp is holding up a lot of that $1,200 in value here. A little bit of a steep curve here. I wish there was something else closer in second place there. I don't love the Iono. I think again, I'm going to go into this, but I think the special sauce in this set is really in a lot of the cheaper cards that aren't even in the top 20 here necessarily. So again, that Magikarp holding a lot of the value in the set up. I wish this was a gentle curve with a second place card closer to, that $100 price point, so it wasn't Magikarp or bust. But again, it does have that chase card. And then just to show a quick comparison here versus Paradox Rift. So same thing. This is just comparing the two sets, each spot in this, the top 20 spot in the set from a value standpoint, and just showing the difference. So again, obviously Paldea Evolved is a more expensive booster box, but comparatively it has there's more stuff in there. There's more value. So pretty well matched. For the most part, except for that top slot where just, Paldea Evolved, essentially it's a couple $100 more than Paradox. It's adding, that Magikarp's really what's adding the difference in that set. So Paradox, that's what that tells me is Paradox could have used a better chase at that point. And now we're looking at the top 3 cards of the set from a total value standpoint. So Magikarp sitting at that $245 price point, up 53% in the last few months. Only 60 of these available on TCG Player, so performing extremely well. This is not my cup of tea. I'm just against the market on this, and the market obviously there's a ton of people out there that like it. Far be it for me to kind of talk down upon people's wants and everything. It's just not the card for me. I'm actually going to talk about a few cards I actually really like from this set, but still doing really well. Iono sitting at $64 there, 17% return in the last few months. A lot more of these listed on TCG Player. And that Raichu sitting at $52, 57% return in the last few months here, with 100 listed on TCG Player. And then on to the next 3. I like these 3 a lot better. We get the Tyranitar at $48, 10% return in the last few months, 130 listed on TCG Player. The Marill, I actually love this card. I think that's great. And I think it's a good price here, $34. I think it's a great pickup, actually. It's up 125% in the last few months. There's less than 100 of these listed on TCG Player. Look at that sell volume. Average daily sell rate of about 5 per day. So I think that's a really cute, fun card. I like that. The Mousehold sitting at $33, monster return, 151% in the last 3 months, less than 100 listed on TCG Player. So you can see here a lot of these SIRs sitting below, total population on TCG Player below 100. It's an older set, so just something to keep in mind. And again, boxes there are going to keep going up in price. There's going to be less cracking, so there's really just the time for influx of singles into the market is dwindling. There's just going to be less people cracking a really expensive box. These are some other the honorable mention section here. I had just some really good cards, beautiful cards. Further down the value chain, we're talking $30 to $20 to $10 here. Some of which I didn't even realize. Really some really cute, fun, colorful cards here. We get the Fuecoco, Tinkaton, Miss Magius, Qian Pao, Baxcalibur, Heracross, ASQ, and Tinkatuff here. All really cool, beautiful cards. A couple of these I added to my list here to order, some of which, again, I was really surprised. So I think that's really where some of the magic is in this set. Some cards that really, once things start to dry up, could really start to add and bring more value to that total value in the set as time goes on here. So doing really well here. Beautiful cards. All right, so we're going to talk about what we do here is we rate the set. We talk about reprint risk, and then we talk about, the total, our target price for this product in the next 12 months or so. So my set rating on it is a solid B. It's kind of, I know most people, the market's giving it more of a higher rating, I would say, based on its price. My set rating, this is my subjective like of the set, is a B. And again, it's just that Magikarp. If there was something else in this set, something that I was more driven to in those, that higher value chase card slot, I think it would be a different rating here. I honestly don't love the box art or the logo. It just seems very Flintstone-y to me. That's just my own stuff here. I'm talking about my own opinion. That's just my thoughts on the set. So it's a very solid set. Can't deny that. And again, I think the value of some of the cheaper cards and the beauty in some of those cheaper cards is why I gave it a higher rating than I probably would have. Reprint risk, I think this is an ETB is incorrect here. Reprint risk for the booster box I think is fairly low. We did get a reprint on this set already. Of course, we could get another one. I've talked about this before recently. There is a ton in Scarlet and Violet that needs to be reprinted. A ton. I can think of probably 6 or 7 sets that need reprinting. Both the booster box, the ETB. We're still getting reprints for Crown Zenith and 151. So there's lots of action happening elsewhere. And then on to our price target. So I think a fair booster box price target for this in the next 12 months, with the hot market that we're in, if we're not talking about any other exogenous, economy events that would kill the market, if things keep going the way they have been, I think a $225 to $300 price target on this in the next 12 months is not unfair at this point. Again, reprint risk is low. What we have in the market, generally speaking, at least from a booster box standpoint, is likely to be all we're going to get. Again, ETBs probably higher on, they're probably more of a medium reprint risk at this point. So that's Paldea Evolved. Very solid set. Certainly going to go down in history as the pillar set, first pillar set of Scarlet and Violet, when everything else was just not performing very well. This was kind of holding its own, and we had a pretty solid chase card in the Magikarp. So that's it for this set update. We will see you on the next one. PokeMarketLab out.